What is going on, Cigar Club family? Welcome to, a micro podcast, a bonus podcast right here on the Cigar Club podcast. I'm joined live here at TPE, the greatest cigar expo of all, with another Cigar Club?
What?
Another cigar subscription?
What?
I hate you.
I mean, I'm just here to take all your members, so thanks for having me, dude.
Guys,
appreciate
Alex,
it.
I can never say his last name.
Berezowski.
Alexander Berezowski.
From
My Cigar Pack.
Yes, sir.
Me and Alex met, 2 weeks ago in Miami?
We finally personally met. We have been,
We've been DMing, texting.
He slid.
Yeah, I did.
Just
I did.
Not the other way around, right?
When you see El Mysterious Tiger, you slide.
Exactly.
Slide in the DM.
You can't help it.
But we first, started connected via the interwebs maybe a month or two ago. And I don't know, we started having these conversations where it's like, why don't more businesses like ours, why don't we talk to each other?
Correct.
And then we started talking to each other, and then we were just laughing the stories, so many similar things that we go through because we do similar things. But at the end of the day, we're offering very unique products.
Yeah, and we're not just like-minded, but our concepts are pretty similar in terms of the value that we bring, price point, concept. So we're pretty similar, I would say. So that's why we connected even more, and why we would easily, have a good chemistry and have a bromance in this kind of sense and atmosphere, and not just a friendship, because I think you're a really cool guy, and how the Dominicans say, when you take all the bad things, you're really good. So when you take those out, you take all the bad things, you're left with good. You're left with good. So
it's something I always say. At Cigar Club, I find at least, and I know Griff and our whole team, it's like when we connect with brands that are in our general age vicinity, magic happens. Because it's this new wave of cigar smokers. It's a new wave of cigar makers, manufacturers, brands, retail businesses, websites, whatever, that have this similar mindset of bringing the ultimate experience to a consumer. And I think we connected on that level too, of our minds work in similar ways of I want to do this, and we could bring people in this way and be more transparent with how we make product. And but you go even a step further, which I think is so interesting that you should talk about for sure, is you're born and raised in the DR, right?
Yeah. Born and raised.
You've seen cigars. I'm like gringo who comes into the cigar industry just I'm a cigar geek, cool. But you're you grew up next to farms.
Yeah, and
farms.
My neighbors are all the big guys back home. And the funny thing is, back in the day, and I don't want to sound like I'm 40 years old or 50 years old, which I'm not. I'm still in my 20s. But the point is, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when I was really getting into cigars and understanding, even when I was, a teenager, you didn't really see the young people smoking. So you were mentioning something about how bringing this twist, this modern twist that we're bringing to the concept of bringing new brands in the terms of discovery and innovation and what have you, through this revitalized concept of youth and technology and what have you, even if the focus is not really technology, but the vision of being young and having a good, nice, clean vision, and how it is being adapted by the older generations that have these concepts already developed. And that's really cool to see. So when you see that background coming into play, it really makes sense. But then a guy like you that doesn't really have that background per se, doing the same thing, it's also amazing.
Not even per se, just don't have the background.
Per se,
no.
Nice. But the thing is, you have a strong coffee background, and there's a lot of similarities between coffee, cigars, wine, spirits. There's a lot of similitudes in the approach of how your palate reacts to the tobacco, how your palate reacts to the coffee, how to pair, how to match, the romance, the passion behind it. So I think that's really interesting. 100%. I think that's how you've been able to help the team over at CigarClub.com to grow this platform to what you've done. And shout out to you, to Griff, to everybody that's involved, because you're doing a great job and you're keeping us in check.
It's funny because you say that, but you'll release a product, right? And I'll text Griff and I'll be like, damn it. Look what Alex just did. This is so annoying.
Same, man.
We had a meeting and somebody bounced the idea off and it's we'll get to it. And then of course Alex did it. Or you come up with things that were why didn't we think about this first?
That's so cool.
But I love that.
It's same. Because I've seen people do, and not necessarily that it's not you because you've done it and it's vice versa. It's same here, by the way, same here. But I've seen other people come up with things and the execution is not exactly as, as you wanted it to be,
right.
or you wanted it for yourself. And then you're like, wow, there's some wiggle room here. There's a little room for improvement. You just got to innovate and you got to bring some twist in there. And, you got to understand that all these concepts have been around for years. The catalogs have done it. These small brands have done it.
Sure.
We are just giving it the exposure that it needs, that it requires. It's all been done before. The takeovers, the naked bundles, the brand. It's all been done before. It's just the matter of execution and how you emphasize that into growth, into value, and into attention for the brands. Because at the end of the day, we're not here if the brands are not here.
100%. And the emphasis on the manufacturers and the people actually making the cigars.
Yep.
And telling their story and bringing your members in, our members in, behind the scenes on like, hey, it's not this like, it is an intense operation. It is wildly detailed.
Yep.
But it's not unattainable for the average person to know about it, which it was for so long. Like you couldn't just like know exactly how a cigar was made or how they bunch a cigar. But now there's platforms and outlets in a lot of what we try and do. And I see it in what you do at My Cigar Pack. It's this education side that's like, you guys want to know more? Like, here we go. And something I want to know is we obviously have subscriptions where we'll ship other brands in boxes.
Yes.
But you also have product that you're either working with a factory on blending yourself and sharing it that way with your consumers. I want to know your process on like making a cigar and like what you look for in a cigar as like Alex, the cigar maker person.
So up until this point, I don't want to dub myself or see myself as Alex the cigar maker, because if Alex the cigar maker would make a cigar, it would only cater to a certain type of people or to a certain segment. What I do think I try to do all the time is listen, hear the feedback, read the feedback, try to adapt to what people want. We've been doing 3 different blends in the factory directs. We've been doing 5 at one point. Right now we're going to release one blend because a lot of people were saying, we just want 5 of the same.
Yep.
Tigers, people loved the Habano. They're like, we wanted 5 Habanos. We're already discovering that new blend. Bring in 1. Well, there's still 30% that's saying, no, we want a variation. We want to try different ones to see different notes in an unbiased fashion. So the process is very relative to what the people want and what the manufacturer wants to bring in as well. Because at the end of the day, you have an angle with the customs, which I think is so cool, that emphasizes so much more on the branding of and the blending process that you've both or all of you have engaged in by going to Nicaragua, by visiting these factories all the time. And our angle is a little more towards, all right, this is the factory, this is what they can do. You may not like their core lines, but you will try these cigars because they're $5.
Right.
And you're going to try it. And if you want them again, we'll produce them in a small batch. They can grow, and then they'll be $7, $8. They could be 10 at some point. But at least you're gonna scrape off that bias of paying $8, $9, $10 for a cigar. You're gonna pay half of it. You're gonna try it. You're gonna say, maybe I should like maybe I should pick up more stuff. Maybe it's worth $8, $9.
Right.
So that process is a little more relative to what the people want.
Right.
I do have that, those points in the blending process where I have some inputs in what I believe the cigar should be or what we should put in based on sizes and flavors and stuff, but it's not the important part.
Right. No, that makes total sense. And I think it's a great way to, like you said, introduce people to, hey, maybe this is a brand when you walk into the cigar shop, you see the name or the label and you're like, oh, I don't smoke those. But then you smoke it unbanded or with one of your brands on top of it. And you're like, damn, this was good. And you're like, what? It was these guys?
Exactly.
And it starts to like turn that bias away. I think that's amazing. What are you most excited for about being here at TPE?
I'm excited about seeing people face to face once again, collectively. I've been seeing people for
Isn't it crazy
quite
to see all these people here?
Yes, it's
like
so cool.
So many people in here smoking cigars, talking, not on a Zoom lounge.
I wasn't planning on.
Fascinating.
A month and a half ago, I wasn't planning on coming, and then I see more and more brands are popping up, and these are brands that I could potentially see myself by visiting individually, but just seeing them all here and shaking their hands, seeing them interact, that's super cool. I'm only here for a couple of days, so I honestly, I do not care if we do business or not. The business is going to happen, and that's just how we approach things. The business flows.
Right.
It's a very interpersonal,
100%
romantic art.
I love that you keep saying romantic because I so agree. Like,
it is. I don't want to talk to you about business before we light the cigar and
build a relationship.
Exactly.
First, and then business will come through that.
Exactly.
At some point.
Exactly.
And then it also feels more authentic when you're sharing it with your customers. When you can be like, yeah, this is my buddy blank, and we meet up every week and grab a coffee and hang out, and oh yeah, he's got this new cigar coming out and it's in your box. Yep. You'll enjoy it. He makes great cigars.
Absolutely. That's a great point there.
What
and inversely, pardon me for the interruption, I like your process on more of like the artisanal background on blending and the marketing aspect of creating a private label, call it private label, because it is what it is. That's something I miss a little bit in terms of I want to develop that in future.
Right.
That's something that we dabbled a little bit with the Mysterious Tiger, which is still part of the concept of bringing the attention to the manufacturer. We just didn't say who it was, and it got a lot of traction.
Yeah.
And we are going to eventually release all the details now when we bring out the small batch production.
By the way.
Thank you. And when I try something like the Familia by Rodriguez, and I'm like, oh man. And then I see all the details, the golden band with the foil and then the silk foot band, and it's like that whole process. I do miss a little bit on that, on that regard. I still want to like dabble a little bit more with that, but maintaining the core. And it's cool that you do it that way because there's space for everything, and there's definitely a market that is attracted to that concept as well.
Yeah, and it also plays into like your background versus my background. Your background like in the Dominican Republic, like immersed in the cigar culture, related to and having friends that run factories and grow tobacco, and now how you want to approach it on a consumer side in the US versus me, who is like grew up as just a consumer, never seen a tobacco leaf in my entire existence, never been to a cigar factory, and how now being in the industry, how I want to share that side of things. We're both sharing different things coming from different places that some of them overlap, some are totally different, but it still has this like expression of storytelling, this youth to it, and this end goal of people make amazing cigars, you should smoke them without bias. And here's some that we think are really good. Here's cool projects. Here's relationships. Like to me, when I look at our exclusives, it's like the Familia. That cigar is just the smokable format of me and Danny's relationship.
Yeah.
Right? Like Danny is just like one of those guys. And then you came out with one with Danny, and the hot ticket guys.
And we're working on something
Chris
super
and Corey,
cool.
baby.
Yeah.
The donger, the knockout donger. Yeah. And I remember when I saw that, I was like, oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Let's go. And that's when I was like, okay, now I need to go meet Alex, because if Danny's like, I'm making a cigar with this guy, I'm like, he's approved.
Same.
Because if Danny doesn't just like bring anybody into the fold, and I don't know how I can convince him of me, but when he released that, I was like, all right. I called him, like, dude, that was sick.
Yeah.
He's like, you got to meet Alex, and I'm like, all right, here we go.
Yeah, the sentiment is reciprocal. We were, Corey and Chris are my boys. I mean, I don't really share a lot of affection with a lot of people that even when I think as them as friends. And dude, I love those guys since day one. I went to Ohio, visited them.
Yeah,
so
you ventured up.
I ventured,
to the scary Midwest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or probably the damn tundra for you.
And every time they would post a picture with you, I'd say something funny, be like, "Oh, I'm jealous," but then I'm like, "Nah, I'm kidding. I like Dave. He's super cool. Like, I definitely want to meet him.
That guy. Yeah,
I definitely want to meet him." So yeah, the feeling is definitely mutual and reciprocal. So.
One day we'll have to do a big Ohio. You're probably
sure.
good for a one yearly Ohio. You can pack the one sweater you want.
2 days. 2 days. No, I'm kidding. Listen, I'm always good for a good time. So, whenever, honestly.
What I'm just hitting you with some questions, but I'm just curious because I think we think a lot alike in a lot of ways, and totally
I know what you're
opposite.
I can read your mind.
Oh no!
Why CigarClub.com or why my cigar pack? And I say, why not both?
Why
there you
not
go.
both?
There you go.
Subscribe to both and you'll get cigars from
Absolutely. You smoke more than 10, 15 cigars a month.
Yeah, seriously. Who are we kidding people?
On.
Ooh.
Oh, I love that.
Big take off camera from Griff.
It's got.
He wants to know when the My Cigar. Hold on, this is a tongue twister. The My Cigar Pack Cigar Club exclusive is coming. I think soon.
It's got to have a little shaka in there. So
a shaka?
Yeah.
I like it.
Little shakas in there, throw.
We'll put shakas in it, and I think it could happen.
It should happen.
It will happen.
Yeah. All right.
Convincingly.
Set in stone. It's already in camera.
There it is, people.
So you got it.
Hit me with where this is a broad question, but I think it's one that like kind of will bring a lot home. Where do you see the new way of like cigars in general as like a lifestyle, whether it's demographic or what's gonna come, what new that's coming, or how a consumer will engage with cigars? Where do you see that going in the next like 10 years? Like, do you see it staying relatively the same, or are we gonna hit like what do consumers want in your eyes?
Consumers want the same quality that they get from the traditional lines, traditional brands, reimagined in different, executed differently. So same quality, same people, same core brands that they've been smoking, but in smaller versions, not necessarily limited edition that you can only get at this place, but smaller productions that, stay truer to that quality and branded a little more, in a more jovial and fun way and engaging way. So I think that brands understand that consumers now more than ever want to have that voice, to have that platform. So
100%.
What I believe is the platform is going to be developed and it's going to be enhanced so that more consumers can have a voice, and things aren't going to be so massively produced as to have it out and be like, this is what's up. It's good. Trust me, it's good, but this is what you get. Or more of like, what do you want to see? How do you want to see it? All right, let's do a couple thousand boxes of this instead of a full production. And then we'll take the same exact blend and do a little twist, age it a year longer, and then bring it out this way.
So almost like becoming more intimate, more like purposeful with everything that you're releasing.
Yes, and there's an opportunity because there's such a high demand right now and such a low offering. So there's a shortage of tobacco in the world, and there's a vast demand. Everything's delayed. So this is an opportunity for people to reinvent themselves and use platforms like ours. I'm not saying we are the only ones, but we are part of those those channels that are gonna definitely enable that. So that's my opinion. It's a little abstract, but I believe that's kind of what I believe.
No, totally.
Is the way to go.
I totally agree. That's great insight.
What do you believe?
What do I believe?
Yeah.
Oh boy, this is my podcast.
Yeah.
You don't ask the questions here. I think similarly that brands are gonna, but more on whether it's 100,000 cigar production or a 10,000 cigar production. I think brands are, especially some of the bigger ones, are being, in a good way, I don't mean this negatively,
correct,
forced into being more transparent than ever before.
Yes.
But in a good way. Like,
yes.
It's not transparent for the sake that they were putting short filler in cigars they were saying weren't short filler. Not that kind of transparency, but more like people want to know. Like, you're not going to become big and successful by anymore, I don't think, by playing the you don't get to know.
Yes.
Like, this is for us to know. We know cigars, you don't. You just smoke them and pay $12.
Yeah.
It's going to be like this invitation, whether it's bringing on more content people into these brands, behind the scenes. People want to see people in the factory sorting tobacco. Genuinely. Like, I think people want to see that whole process.
So, complementing that, I want to say that people want to know, people want that transparency, but they want it through education. And it's not just tell me that this has ometepe or this has, why does it have ometepe? And why do you say it tastes sweet? Okay, ometepe tobacco is from an island, Nicaragua, and it provides a sweetness because the let's just random volcano erosion creates volcanic soil.
We got a lawyer on our hands here, people.
Stuff like that. So it was one of the things that I heard from the last podcast from the TLE with J.D. Drew, and he said Jonathan Drew. He mentioned the relation of pluviometry and water, and it's raining a lot. We're gonna have a good if you're not retaining that water, the soil is not retaining that that the water the whole time. That means that it's not going to be a rich soil all throughout. So it could have rained a bunch that year. So if you're not retaining it, you're not getting that great tobacco. And that great tobacco in that area is being enhanced by that excess of water instead of droplets, because this tobacco has this certain pH. What is pH? Why does that pH create this soil this way? And why does this tobacco taste sweeter or saltier or more bitter with this kind of weather? And
now
that's
smoke
what people
that
want
cigar.
to know. Now smoke that cigar.
Right.
Don't just tell me, oh, it's got some Viso from Jalapa and it tastes like
Jalapa.
graham crackers.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know?
Yeah,
why?
exactly. Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. And also on top of that, I think you're going to find people enjoying cigars more, even if they don't absolutely love it, they understand it. And that, to me, is more of an adventure and more of an experience than anything else. When you can fully understand what you're smoking and what you're enjoying and the people and the brands you're supporting.
Absolutely.
Boom.
We're on the same page.
We did it, dude.
Awesome. I love
We
it.
stayed cordial.
Do you want to come say hi?
He's about to come in for a full segment here, but we're both smoking. This podcast
you can sit on my lap.
This podcast is brought to you by AJ Fernandez Cigars.
Oh, yeah.
Smoke AJ or smoke nothing.
Every day.
Omar Fernandez, AJ Fernandez Cigars, folks. in the house.
Fernandez.
Fernandez.
He's the real deal.
Here we are.
We're here. We've done it.
Only
Me
one.
and Alex stayed friends through the duration of this. We became friends.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
He suggested we staged a fight, but
No, we didn't want to do that. That was a dumb idea.
We're going to get an octagon.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
Industry octagon. Everybody
love
go at
it.
it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Well, sweet. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having
Appreciate
me, bro.
it.
Appreciate it.
And Cigar Club family, check out my cigar pack if you haven't already. Alex heads that beast up, and they're doing some awesome things.
Oh, yeah.
Live from the TPE trade
Learning
show
from the best.
floor. This is the Cigar Club podcast. We'll talk to you soon. Happy smoking.